All right. Are we good again? Anyways, so as I was saying, I took some time to myself today. Got my car cleaned up because I'm sure you guys know having a nice clean car is, you know, is just nice. So hopefully everybody can appreciate that. Anyways, I reset the stream and my router, or modem, I should say. Are we going? How are we doing in terms of quality here? Better go delete that other stream because it's gonna show 2 streams in my archive now. Anyways, so yeah, today's just gonna be a very casual stream. I'm just gonna kind of go over everything because the other stream dropped. So anyways, I got some stuff I wanted to talk about. I'm just gonna jot down some notes here so we can cover them. If you guys have anything else you'd want me to cover, let me know. So I've got, let's see. I actually have notes here already. So I've got a couple of things here. I'm not breaking anything. So a couple of things, as you guys know, or most, actually, I'm gonna assume a lot of people don't know because it hasn't really popped up that much in the groups. But Creality has actually copied, now for the record, I'm not saying I invented ABL. I'm saying that the way it was implemented, in terms of like mainly with the separate power adapter, myself was the first one to do that. As far as I know, there's no other companies that have done that. So I'm actually moving some files around because I've got like a little file going here of when I actually do a review on Creality's copy of my kit. So I have one here. So I purchased a knockoff of my own product to see how it stacks up. So I've literally just opened the box. This is the box it came in. I don't care if people see my address. It's pretty public if you look up my company name. So anyways, this is it says Creality Auto Bed Leveling Kit under the sticker. They literally just shipped it in here. So I haven't done anything to this other than open it. The funny thing is their label's already coming off. And what I noticed is that, and I'm going to do this on live stream here so we have it. If I peel this off, you can see there's other residue under here. You can see it right here. This is sticky. Like if I take something, like here, Post-it. Here, I'll take the non-sticky side of the Post-it. So it'll stick because this is an off-the-shelf sensor. Our sensors don't come with labels because they're custom made, and we put our own labels after we QC the whole kit. So yeah, they're definitely using an off-the-shelf sensor. The thing is not only in terms of implementation, like they have the separate box here, the separate power adapter, is what is kind of irritating to me. But the fact that they went out of their way and had the blue tip customized, which you have to go to the supplier and tell them, we want a blue tip on the sensor, which why wouldn't they go with an orange tip, which is what 99% of all sensors are? My guess is because they want it to look like my kit. But my particular one, just as like talking as a consumer here, this is unacceptable. Like this is the actual casing here, and it's not even flat. Like it's ironic that the first layer on a bed leveling product is terrible. And like this is a new case I'm working on. You can see here, it's flat. This is a new design that one of our community members, Nicholas, I can't remember his last name, but Lid works a lot better than our current generation ones. It's got 2020 extrusion mounting holes. But you can see here, yeah, you can see here, it slides nice and smooth. Like, I'm barely even touching it. So, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, so I'm already working on updating our kits with a better case, based on everybody's feedback. These are looking really nice. They're easy to print. And the best part is they don't require any glue to mount them. No screws or glue. It just snaps in. So if we ever need to take a board out for service, we can easily pop it out of here. So yeah, anyways, so the print quality on here, I have the lid here. The lid's okay. Nothing special. It's not as warped as the box itself, but it's not great. But it does fit. And the soldering job is pretty bad. It's a surface mount board, but it's hand soldered, which is really weird. You would think they'd be having these actually made. But they also have this power adapter here, which I put on our scope. And this has about 1 volt. This is a 24-volt adapter. 1 volt of ripple on it, meaning the voltage, it's at 24. It's shooting up to 20, almost 25, down to 23, like this. So aka it's going to have bad effect on the sensor. It's not going to get stable power. So that's bad here. The only nice thing is they do give you a metal mount. But I haven't gotten any firmware. I haven't gotten any install guide. Literally all I have from Creality is this box. That's it. So I'm going to be approaching the review as someone that is an average person that doesn't have any experience doing firmware or anything, because that's the target demographic for these types of stuff. So I have, let me move these photos here. I'm going to show this here. So this is the chat. I'm gonna move this over. This is the chat from Creality and I. So I messaged them back on the 19th of May, so almost a month. And they said, I said, hey, I want to test it out. Do you have any installation instructions or firmware how to use it? They sent me a message, just a generic message when they shipped it. And then she said, please send your email. I sent her my email. And then on the 20th, I followed up. I followed up again and again and again. I said, I got the kit today on the 29th. How do I use it? And then I sent them pictures of the casing. And then, like, that's it. They haven't gotten back to me. So my experience thus far has been zero support on it. So it's good for us in terms of competition, because someone's going to buy this and they're going to get shafted. So there's no support thus far for it, which I'm not surprised. I'm sure none of you guys are surprised. But I like to do comparisons. Speaking of comparisons, I've got another competitor's product here. And by competitor, I mean they sell auto bed leveling products. I don't really see them as a competitor because they're not super responsive, and I don't really think they know how to handle most of the firmware. So this is the casing it comes in, which isn't bad. And this is from that Dave Ashenbrenner guy or whatever. So this is the case. I took his module out of the case, and he didn't want to post. He didn't post any pictures of the internals of his stuff. So his board snaps in like this, and there's 2 screws. So this is his module. This is fairly large compared to ours. So this is his module. It comes pre-wired, and I have not messed with any of this wiring, and you can already see. I'll take it out of here. They're kind of, the wires for his sensor are kind of coming out of the terminals here. And he has a blue and red wire. The blue one is negative. The positive is red. And it's pre-wired, and it's set up. Now, the confusing part is, I don't understand why he has this, because you can flip it in firmware. He's got one header for a normally open connection and one header for a normally closed connection. You don't really need to have two headers. It's just adding cost to the product. But the main thing is, I don't know if you guys see this, but they're using a relay, a mechanical relay, to handle the sensor trigger. So you're going to get bounce on the relay. You're going to get a physical delay while it's actually triggering. I am going to wire this up to a machine and see what happens. He also only gave me one nut for their sensor. Now, this is a really small sensor. It's an 8mm. It's a standard. The part number on it's LJ8A3-2-Z/AX. So this is an 8mm inductive probe, and it's fixed distance at 2mm. So you can't adjust this sensitivity on here. This will not work on anything but your aluminum bed. This is, I don't understand why he went through the trouble of making, like, this is their own board. It's got their logo and everything on it. But it's literally just a relay. And the problem with the relay is you're not going to get the same thing in terms of trigger time every single time because it's mechanical. So that's why I don't think this is a good design. In addition to the fact that this is a Songle relay. So this is a low quality Chinese relay. But we're going to test it out. I bought this. This wasn't sent to me as a review. I bought this to see what other people that are doing the similar kind of thing are putting out. Just to kind of see where we're stacking up against. It's market research, essentially. So, thus far, yeah, I don't have high hopes for this. I bought this with my personal money. TH3 did not buy this. I personally bought this. And like I said, I can't even mount this sensor because there's only one nut on it. And I'm not gonna, I bought it through a friend of mine. I had him buy it because I had a feeling if I bought it, he would cancel the order because he doesn't like me. So I bought it through a third party and then paid again to have it shipped to me. Oh, what's up, Matt? And he's marketing this with his, I think he calls it the Stinger. It's a big, overly complex hot end mount. But again, comparison. I want to know what other people are putting out. A couple of new things. I got actually quite a few new things up here. This, I believe I'm the first person to physically have this. This is called the Resumer 3D. I have not tested it yet, but this is launching on Kickstarter. It might already be on Kickstarter. But this is a power resume. This is a power resume module. Now, right now it only works with SD printing. So you plug your printer into here, and what it does is it monitors the G code being sent from your SD card to keep a log. Now, what these little plus and negative buttons are is so you can adjust your Z height if it's off and resume from a different layer. And this OK button is what actually processes it. Now, this is for power. I haven't tested if this is also USB pass-through. So, like, if you could have your computer plugged into this side and then the printer onto the other. It has a setting here to tell it to not home Z or to home Z before it resumes. And then it's got these 3 pins here that are, it says in 5V and ground. So I'm going to be checking this out. They reached out to me through TH3D and asked if we'd be interested in checking it out and being a reseller. So as you guys know, I test everything before I sell it. So I'm going to be playing around with this. Me personally, if this only works with SD, it's essentially useless for me. I would like to see something that would integrate with like a Raspberry Pi, and a plug-in to interface with that. But there are people that print over only SD, so there is a market application for it. Now, I just took this out of the case, and how they're doing the power resume. See these little guys here, these little silver things? These are called super caps. So they're essentially like batteries. And they're not super high capacity, but it's enough for it to detect the power loss and then save the position. So, my feedback for them is going to be, if you guys can make this work with a Pi, you would sell these like crazy, because then we don't have to do power resume in the firmware. So, yeah. I think it's a neat idea. And this is actually a company in China. I am talking with them about them open sourcing the software, because I have a feeling if this is a pass-through, meaning I can pass my USB data through to the printer and this can just sit in between monitoring it, this will be a very awesome little gadget. So again, I got to test this out. This is a pre-release one. I think I'm one of the first people to have it. In terms of other stuff companies have sent me, I've got a G-Tech i3 kit, which is a wood frame printer. I was kind of skeptical about it, but I opened it up, and it's actually really strong. So it's like a wood, but it's got plastic on top of it. Looks nice. I was going to do that tonight, but I just don't have time. I got to pick my brother up and my neighbor from the airport in about an hour or two. So I just want to do a stream where we kind of hang out and shoot the shit. So, other stuff that we got, I got the Xinkebot, which I've never heard of them. I originally reached out to them when I was very small, before I even had a channel. Or actually not before I had a channel, but before I started really doing reviews. It was right after I did the Anycubic console review for GearBest. I reached out to them. They basically told me, yeah, you're too small. And then they came back out and reached out to me asking if we want to check out their printer. So, I've got the Capsule here, which is a this thing's heavy. It's a $400 small printer. And the reason it's $400 is, one, it's ready to print out of the box. And I haven't even turned this on. It did get some damage in shipping. There's like a slight bend on the top, but it's just cosmetic. This is the whole printer right here. This is the whole printer, and you can see the little dent here. And it looks like their logo got a little mangled. Wonder if I can put that back on or if it's toast. Yeah, the T's completely gone. So I'll have to give them feedback on that. I'm gonna actually just peel off. Yeah, I'll do it later. I'm gonna take off the rest. So it's a Bowden setup. You can see here, it's got an LCD. Now, my reaction is probably what your guys is. Okay, it's a small printer. It's $400. But what I really do have high hopes for this for multiple reasons. One, I already talked to them, and they said that they're fully GPL compliant. And I verified that because I asked them, because it says on their product page that it runs Marlin. So I said, hey, can you send me a source code for Marlin? They said, sure, here it is. I then thanked them. Let's see if I can bend this back. I don't know if this was pre-bent before I got it. I think it might have got bent before they packaged up. Whatever, it's cosmetic. Anyways, they actually understand the GPL. They told me that they respect it, and I thanked them for it, and I told them just on that principle alone, I'm more than happy to do a review on this. Now, I just took the spool holder and the power adapter out of here. This is a nice, small, little machine here. Looks like a PCB type material for the bed, and it's clipped on, so this is removable. It is not a heated bed, but all the axes, the X, the Y, and the Z, they're all linear rails. There's no V-slot rollers, and this thing's heavy. I'm like, actually, my arms are actually kind of getting tired holding this thing up. This thing's got to weigh about 30 or 40 pounds. But it's all linear rails, so I could see a use case for this if this does work well. I could see a use case for this of putting a tiny nozzle on it. It does have, I'm assuming it's a 0.4, but using this for really small prints, because this is small. This is nice and compact. I'm really excited to try it out. So, but it's got USB power input here. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a review on this. I just wanted to unbox it because it's so tiny. Like, I have some 0.25 nozzles here, and I think the ones I sell for the CR10 series will fit. It looks like the same kind of nozzle here. But you can see, it is all linear rails. You see the bearing block under the bed? And you can see the bearing block the carriage is mounted to, and then the Z's got 2 linear rails. And I'm assuming these are... I'm going to take it apart a little bit, but there's no play in them at all. I can't even... I can't even move it. It is dual Z as well. So, Build quality though is amazing. So I can see why this costs what it does, because like this has got some heft to it and it's all linear rails. I'm willing to bet just the linear rails in this thing, that's at easily $100 to $120 worth of cost right there. So I see why it's expensive, and I'm really excited to test it because it could be really good for small prints like miniatures and stuff. So, and personally, FDM's a lot less messy than resin, which I have a resin printer. I don't use it a lot because it's messy. Got a scraper, power cord, your standard like tools here. I don't know what this little black thing is. I'm assuming I'll find out in the install guide. Some wrenches, your standard Chinese USB blue cable, tweezers, side cutters, a couple wrenches, full-size USB to SD, and then a 4 gig Kingston. So, yeah. I'm excited to try it out. I think I'm going to slap a small nozzle on it and play with it. Ultimately, I think I'm going to end up sending it to Tor, who's Blazeby 3D and RC in the chat. He's actually one of TH3D's contractors. He does our support. So, and he does a ton of miniature prints. So this would be great for him. And I don't need another small printer. It's got a 4 amp 12 volt power supply. Feels solid. And we got the spool holder here, which looks pretty cool. I dig the blue. Then again, I'm biased. This is like almost the same blue we use for all the TH3D stuff. I'm assuming that little, you know, looking at that little black plastic piece I didn't know it was for, that looks like parts for the spool holder here. So, yeah. Yeah. So, I'm excited to review it. It's a nice small little printer. The fact that they understand the GPL and, like, that they're aware of it, they abide by it, and they understand it, it really says a lot. And I think that alone is just good start. So, yeah. So, I forgot to put the scraper, so I'm just going to put this off to the side here. But, yeah, so those are some new stuff we're playing with. And like I said, the Resumer 3D. I've also got the ATX Pi hat. I'll post a link to that in the chat. I haven't played with it yet because I haven't had time. But I'm going to be putting it on one of my machines once I get it rebuilt here. I'm trying to find it here. Yeah, here. So, posted a link in the chat there. That's ATX Pi hat, and basically what that does is it lets you hook up an ATX power supply to power your printer, and the Pi can control it. So it's really easy to connect your Pi up. So yeah, inside the Mind of Matt, he's got the Pi hat. We actually sent him a ton of stuff for his Piper build. If you guys haven't checked out his videos, go check those out now. He's doing a 500 by 500 printer made out of pipe. So I sent him, I sent you, I think, a Rams board, a bunch of stepper drivers, the Arduino Mega to go with it. Just a ton of stuff. I always have a bunch of boards and stuff, so I was like, well, I got a million of these. Let me help you out with the project. So, he's got those. But, yeah, so Creality, regarding their ABL kit, when I redid this, oh no, that was on the first stream. So, those of you that don't know, let me just back up in the stream here. I can't remember if oh yeah, I did do the Creality ABL here. So, I couldn't remember if I covered that. I'm trying to see here. Yeah. Alright, so we covered the Creality ABL kit. So that'll be another review. I'm going to give them another week before I do a review, because at this point, the Creality ABL review is going to be, here's the kit. As an average user, I have no idea what to do with it. So I'll give them another week before I post anything out. I will put a disclaimer in the video that, hey, you know, they are a competitor of us in full disclosure, but we're checking it out to see what they're doing and how they stack up against what we're offering. And right now, it's pretty much, here's a box of parts, figure out how to use it. That's where we're at right now. Yeah. So I'm going to go back here. Did I show the screenshots of me trying to get help from them? I'm just zooming back through the video here. Just like the live stream archive. Yeah, I did. Okay. So, yeah, basically, it's just here's some parts. So, and then, like I said, we got the other one from 3D Print 2 Form, which I'm not recommending them. The guy that runs it is honestly, he's very abrasive. I know I'm not perfect, but he's done some crazy stuff and gotten removed from quite a few other groups. But again, I picked up his kit to check it out. It's a 2 millimeter sensing distance, 8 millimeter inductive sensor. So you cannot use this on glass. If you got a thick build surface on there, it might have issues with it. But they're using a mechanical relay to do the sensor isolation, which, while technically works, because you're having a physical relay translate that signal, you're going to have potential repeatability issues because of the physical delay between the relay triggering and untriggering, and even bounce on the pin because the relay is mechanical. And it's not a high quality relay. It's just a cheap Chinese relay. So again, I'll be checking that out. Looks like we got Scott here. What's up, Scott? How are you doing? I know you've been busy working on trying to get 119 wrapped up. So yeah, that's what's been going on. Oh, in terms of things that have been happening, if you guys have been following along my Facebook page or even the TH3D page, on Thursday, not the Thursday as in the 31st, but the 24th. Yeah, the 24th. My wife Samantha, who's also an owner of TH3D, we work on this business together. She was rear-ended pretty bad in an accident, and her car ended up getting totaled out. We got behind on orders. My brother came up and helped us. So we at least got orders out in a pretty quick amount of time. We're finally caught up on support tickets, so I got all caught up. Got all caught up on Thursday night. I was up till like 2 o'clock in the morning, but I got it all caught up. We only had one guy that ended up kind of, honestly, excuse my French, but he was being a dick because he was upset that we weren't replying as quick as we normally do. But you know, I got to take care of my family first. You know, and that involved getting my wife to her chiropractor appointments, and we also had to figure out what we were going to get to replace her car. We ended up getting her a used Ford Escape, which she really likes. It's got all-wheel drive because we live in Chicago. I was like, we're not buying another car with front-wheel drive as long as we live here because the snow can get pretty bad. But she's got a new car, well, new to her. We opted to spend, you know, a couple thousand extra and get something instead of just like a base economy car. We got one with some options, so she's really liking that. This is actually her first nice car she's had. All of our other cars have been kind of like, you know, your $4,000 or $5,000, just, you know, economy, get you to work and back. And I wanted to get her something nice. You know, my car's getting up there. It's a 2010 HHRSS, and I've got 140,000 miles on it. But personally, I just want to keep it running as long as I can because I really like the car. It's fun to drive. So, and I'm actually going to be, I was talking about this before the stream dropped off, but I'm going to be getting back into doing car modding just so I have something other than 3D printing as a pastime, because I need to disconnect sometimes. It's a lot, you know, for me. You can see the office, it's not terrible. It's a little messy, not as bad as it normally is. But But yeah, I mean, yeah, Keith, drive them till the wheels fall off. Her 2006 Malibu, when it got totaled, had 192,000 miles on it. I think she was a second owner, and she had that before. She went to college, which is a while now, and there was nothing wrong with it. So, yeah, it was kind of sad because there was nothing wrong with her old car. It was just old, but everything worked on it. So, Osley, but can you do this? Yeah, I can do that. Just get this fancy racing chair. Just bam. Can you do this? Huh? Isn't that a PewDiePie thing? Yeah. But, Jimmy Pop 57. We got the Escape. It does have a 4-cylinder, but it's the 2-liter with a turbo. Which, to be honest, I kind of wanted the bigger motor because when I drive it, I don't want it to be a dog. So it's got plenty of horsepower. I think it's like 240 or 250. I can't remember horse. And that's at the crank, and 260 or 270 torque. So it's got some pep to it. It's a big step up acceleration wise over her old Malibu. I'm actually used to driving my HHR, which I've got about 300 horse at the wheels in that thing, and that's a 2-liter with a turbo. As I was saying before, I used to be really into cars, and just kind of switched gears because of business, and I want to get back into it because I really enjoy working on the cars. I spent like 5 hours just cleaning and detailing my interior. I got to finish the windows, and then I'm gonna wash it, clay bar it, and then buff out some scratches, and then wax the whole thing. Hopefully tomorrow after I'm done with work. Yeah, Jimmy, it's not a 2.4. It's the 2.0 with a turbo on it. So it's quick. I mean, I can drive it and not feel like I want to kill myself like I did with the Malibu. The Malibu is a 2.2, and it was a dog on the highway. So, yeah. If I had my pick for my next car, I'd want to get a like 2014 or newer Taurus SHO. That's a 3.6 liter, I want to say. But it's a V6 with twin turbos and all-wheel drive. So plenty of power and a lot of fun. I actually run on my HHR, I run snow tires on it. So it's not bad in the snow at all with the snow tires. And I'm going to get a second set of just steel wheels with snow tires on them for the Escape. So my wife can have all-wheel drive and snow tires. So, yeah. We talked about the Easy ABL knockoff, which is the Creality one, which I don't even think I'm going to call it a knockoff because, like, they're just providing hardware. And that's fine, but they're only $9 cheaper than my direct wire kit. So at that point, what's the point then? You're not getting any support. You're going to wait. It took almost 2 weeks to get here from China. Yeah, so let's see here. In terms of the GPL stuff, we're still moving on that. ANET is just, they're not responding in terms of actually getting us the information. It's kind of like I contact where I bought my ANETs from. They send me to ANET. ANET sends me back to them. It's just this giant circle jerk of referring me back and forth to get the firmware source code. So I'm pretty much writing them off as they're hopeless because I've tried contacting multiple people. I've got multiple emails from different ANET people that I've acquired over the years. Facebook, you know, people on there, and they're not providing it. And you know what? That's fine. They'll get boycotted. I will not feature any more ANET printers on here. Personally, I think ANET, they've fallen behind. They haven't put out anything new. Their E10 was Their E12 is terrible. The ANET A8's a fire starter. The ANET A6 is a fire starter. So yeah. They're responding, but the responses are, go talk to this person. That person says, go talk to this person. It's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So they're just passing the buck. Tronxy, I haven't gotten any responses back. I've been trying to get info out of ANET right now. Yeah, so yeah, anyways, yeah, Osley, I'm aware of how it all works, but no one is providing it. ANET's not providing it. GearBest isn't providing it. I can't get the ANET source code right now. So, yeah, G-Tech is getting a lot better. I did an Amazon review for their Meat Creator 2, which is GPL compliant. There's a couple of their Deltas which run a 32-bit board, which has kind of a bastardized version of Marlin on it. If you hook it up to your computer, it is running some flavor of Marlin. It's running STM32 chip, so I'm not exactly which one they're running. I don't have one here, but people have reported to me that their Deltas do not have it. They're trying to say it doesn't have Marlin, but it does. It runs Marlin. It's some sort of flavor of Marlin they've modified, so they then have to abide by the GPL. So they're what I would call semi-compliant. I do have the G-Tech A30 here, which is a newer one, and I'm told that runs a 32-bit processor. I literally just opened it up to make sure it wasn't damaged. That was actually sent to us from Cody over at the CR10 group. He had G-Tech reached out to him, asked him if they wanted a couple printers to check out. And he had an extra one. He asked me if I wanted it. I was like, sure, I'll check it out. But it's still in the box right now. I'll probably review that next week. But yeah, the funny thing is, if you talk to anybody that has the A30, G-Tech is offering an auto bed leveling sensor with it, but no one can get it working. So, and then talking with G-Tech, it sounds like they're, it sounds like they're discontinuing because they're getting too many returns on the entire printer because people can't get the sensor working. So people assume the sensor doesn't work, the whole printer is broke. Which doesn't surprise me because there's no documentation with how to use it. It's literally just a sensor and the top of it's like hot glued on. I'll go over all that when I actually do the unboxing. But the quality on it is okay. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's okay. G-Tech is kind of an interesting company because it's like they're trying to do new stuff, but they hit some certain key points and then other stuff they just fall on their face. Yeah, it's just really weird. But Tronxy is on my list. If anybody has any contact info for Tronxy, you can email info@3dgploffenders.com. I think that's, or 3D printer. 3dprintergploffenders.com. I had to remember the URL. So info@3dprintergploffenders.com. If you got any contact info for Tronxy, that goes to myself and Scott Latine on the Marlin team. Him and I both field those requests. And Scott's in our chat. Scott, you need to come up to Chicago and hang out one of these days. I'll clear my schedule for you. There's a lot of good vegan restaurants too in Chicago, I'm told. And I'm a meat eater, but I'm down to try some vegan delicacies as long as it tastes good. I don't care. I'm a big guy. I'm not picky when it comes to food. So, we got two other points here that I had jotted down. Yeah, no one likes driving in Chicago, Scott. Not even people who live in Chicago. So, Creality released an authenticity announcement about basically warning people of buying clone printers because they're worried about people copying them. And then 3 days later, they released their ABL kit, which is a knockoff of mine. So I thought that was really ironic. I'm trying to pull it up here. Shenzhen. I think they're Shenzhen Creality, yeah. On Facebook here. Let me switch over my monitor. So yeah, they released a statement here. They did a video too. The video is literally just this page scrolling. So yeah, they're basically talking about other companies in China copying their designs. they're like basically telling you like where to buy their products from, look at the market price, country of origin, which I guess you can't really tell. It's from China. But the point is, we have a Chinese company complaining about other Chinese company copying them. And you can see here the top comment here. I understand your anger, but most American people probably see your comment as ironic. Imagine you being a Chinese company, you'll probably censor my comments. So make a screenshot. I do own 3 of these printers. Yeah, so, and I believe I commented on here. This guy's like F Creality. Where was it? I thought I got, yeah, right here. So, I was like, here, kind of how you stole one of my products. I'm done supporting this company, period. I hope you keep getting your ideas stolen. Other people liked it. Yeah, and they also copied a not for commercial use design here for their Z towers, which I pointed out here. This is the guy's design that they copied for the $50 kit they're selling. So it's ironic. It's ironic that a Chinese company is complaining about other Chinese companies, and then literally a couple days later they knock off my product. You know, it's a crazy world we live in. So, but Naomi Wu, let me pull this up here, and I'll play the video here. Just trying to find the original post. Come on. I accidentally clicked on my messages. Well, Scott, I don't know if you know this, but Chris at Tiny Machines personally donated that to you. They, unless something changed from last time I talked to him, they basically told him to give you a machine. I don't know if they've compensated him for that. I think Chris would have given you a machine either way. I know your first CR10 I helped you out with getting because I sent you some money. You told me you were trying to get one. I was like, here, you know, have some money to go buy a CR10S. But I'm trying to find the post here. There we go. So I'm just gonna rebroadcast this here. All right. So let me pause my music, which is on my other screen. Yes, it is. So I'm pausing the music here, and we're going to turn up the volume on the video here. So I'm gonna mute my mic so you guys can check this out.
Hey everyone, if you don't know me, I'm Naomi Wu. I'm a DIY and 3D printing enthusiast from Shenzhen, China. I'm also the new Creality 3D community liaison. I don't exactly work for Creality, but I am sponsored by them. So I have enough of a relationship to explain what the community wants and why they want it, but also enough independence. So hopefully you know I'm not full of it when I report back with the best information I have. Most of you who know me know I'm an honest person, and that reputation is worth a lot to me, so I won't do anything to jeopardize it. So what will I be doing as community liaison? Well, if you are missing a screw for your CR10, talk to customer support. If everyone is missing a screw, that's a community issue, and I'll get right on it. Things like documentation, open source compliance, safety concerns. I'll be in all the major Creality 3D forums on social media. Please just tag me and I'll do my absolute best to resolve the issue. And you can also contact me by email at crealityfreedy@sexycyborg.net. Thanks, and I look forward to serving the community and making 3D printing even more accessible.
Apparently my mic was muted. So there's the video. I said the you know, the comments that were on that, the moderators turned the commenting off because people were just being absolute disgusting pigs on there because, you know, she wears like nothing, no clothing that covers everything, which is fine. I don't have a problem with it, but yeah, that thread got real weird real quick. A bunch of people got banned. I do think she actually does know what she's talking about. She's not one of these, you know, people that's, you know, typically see, like, especially in the gamer communities, you get these girls that literally are just popular because they're a girl. I don't think that's what the case is here. She knows her stuff. She understands this stuff, does all these projects, and generally wants to help out. So when I see people making vulgar comments, it really is quite disgusting. You know, she is the one that actually reached out to Scott and I to help with the GPL stuff. So this is a product of the GPL, the 3D printer GPL movement that myself and Scott and everybody else was involved with, which is awesome. It's crazy that it actually got so much traction. I think Creality is going to benefit a lot from this because they're going to be GPL compliant. You're going to get people being on board with them because they're GPL compliant, you know? So yeah, say Scott, yes, Scott, like I said, she knows her stuff. She's not just, you know, she's just not just something that's nice to look at, you know, like some of these people, you know, some of these people think, you know, and it sucks. Like, don't judge a book by its cover, you know. I look like a nerd. Maybe that gives me more credibility, but, you know, don't judge a book by its cover, you know, and keep your disgusting comments to yourself. Like, there's enough crap on the internet. But I thought that was neat that they actually, you know, are, they said they didn't hire her. I'm assuming they're compensating her for some ways, but either way, she's working with them. She understands English. She understands the goals of the community. She understands what's important to the community. And I think it's going to be nothing but beneficial for it. So that's all of my talking points. I've got some projects going on here right now. If you've been following our social media on TH3D, I finished a control box delete for the TiVo Tornado. If you look up TiVo Tornado standalone mod on Thingiverse, that's what I used. I've got a Creality CR10S4 that I'm going to do a similar thing to, delete the control box. And I'm also going to do the same thing to my AlphaWise U10, and mainly because, one, I like it, it's more compact, and two, it saves me space. I'm tight on space here. So pretty much all my other machines are running. The next release, like the next major release, so right now my unified firmware is on U1 R1 8G. And those little letters, if you see a letter after that release, that means there hasn't been a major change. It's been like a bug fix or a small feature added. But the next release, the U1 R1.9, will include support for the Hangout D6. I literally just have to finish the probe mount design. That's it. I've got the firmware done. It's working. I just need to take it off of the printer. It's literally just kind of stuck on there with some zip ties just for testing, make up an STL, and then package that up, get the offsets, and then we'll have Hangout D6 support. The i3 Plus is right here on my floor. It's still taken apart because I'm messing with the LCD. It's kind of a pain in the butt, to be honest, and that's why it's not done yet, because I'm trying to get all the features working. The ADV++ project is what I'm using for the LCD side of the firmware. So that's what we're going to be using for the LCD. And the thing is, we need to integrate offset settings and the baby stepping with the touchscreen. So real close on that, but the touchscreen is a pain, honestly. I hate touchscreens on the printers because they don't do as much stuff as the full LCDs do, your traditional LCDs that you see. Let's see, YouTube chat. Do I have any dual nozzles? I do not have dual nozzle printers. I have dual extruder printers with a 2-into-1 adapter. So meaning I have two extruders that come to a Y, the Bowden tubes come to a Y adapter, and then it puts out one filament path through one Bowden tube. So how you use that is you basically print it, and then you on a tool change, you retract past the Y, and then you extrude it out. And you basically purge it out in a tower, and you go and print, and same thing, switch back. So retract, push the new color through, purge it, print, retract, push the color through, purge it, print, repeat. So I am going to be working on, I am testing, so the printer in the enclosure is my one that's got the 2-in-1 adapter. And that I also have dual filament sensors on, but right now the current version of Marlin on it, which is the 118, I've modified so both of them work, but it doesn't back out the correct extruder. Now the new Marlin bug fix, which is what's going to become 119, does support dual filament sensors, so I'm going to eventually integrate dual filament sensor support for the CR10S boards into the unified firmware, and then we're going to sell modified sensors that will work with the CR10S board, so you can plug the sensor right into the X plus and the Y plus, and then you have an extruder 1, extruder 0 filament sensor. So right now I'm just playing with it. Let me see. I'm going to catch up on the chat here. Ken Core 1. I have his printer here right now. I wanted to get it done this week, but just all the stuff with the catch up from the car accident, I didn't get around to doing it. But he brought his computer here. He lives about 30 minutes from me. His printer is here, and I'm basically going to use it to demo putting different products for the dual extrusion on there. So he bought the pre-order board, and I told him, I'm like, hey, if you want, you know, I need a printer that's kind of a virgin printer, and his doesn't have a ton of mods on it, so it's a good printer to do this on. And then, you know, let me know what setup you want it to be left with, and then I'll give you the parts for free. And obviously they'll already be installed and set up. So I'm going to be doing an install for the dual hot end we sell, the Tough dual hot end that's on our site. The Tough dual hot end is based on the E30 Chimera / Cyclops design. It includes 2 V6 style blocks and a mixing block. So you can either do two independent nozzles with 2 different heaters, and then you could also swap it out for a mixing nozzle where you have 2 inputs, it's 1 block, and then you can actually use, if your slicer supports it, I believe S3D supports it, you can feed in 2 colors at once to mix the colors, or you can feed in 2 different material types. Like if you wanted to mix PLA with PETG to get both properties of those materials, you can. And obviously you can do dual support, or dual types of filaments. So if you want to do like PVA with PLA for dissolvable supports, you can, or HIPS and ABS for dissolvable supports, you can. You can do that with the 2-in-1 adapter. You can do that with the dual hot end. I prefer the 2-in-1 because it's simpler. You're not leveling multiple nozzles. You don't lose any build area on X, because when you have 2 nozzles, you have to understand that whatever that offset, so in this case, the dual hot ends we use are 18 millimeters apart. You're going to lose 18 millimeters on the left and right side of your X gantry. So you're losing 36 millimeters of total print volume on your X. That's why I don't like the dual nozzles. Now, there are benefits to each. And I have basically a pros and cons list on the site. So, and these aren't like Scott's saying, the mixing extruders with like a little stirring mixer. This is just literally a block with 2 inputs. You melt down the film together, so it's not going to mix it perfectly, but you can still blend colors with it. I was playing around with them, just manually heating them up and pushing them in, and it did come out pretty nice. So just different options I have in terms of doing that. Let me see. Check up on the chat here. Oh yeah, in terms of actually documenting how to use all the dual extrusion stuff, I've already posted my S3D profile for my 2-in-1 printer in the TH3D customer group, and I'm going to be adding that to the website this week. Again, just behind from all the stuff from the accident. We just got caught up with everything on Thursday night, so I'm trying to find my remote here so I can turn on the AC because it's getting warm in here. With my computer and all the other electronics on. I'm just going to manually have to turn it on. So, we have central air in the condo, but this room gets a little warm compared to all the other ones. So, let's just scroll through the chat here and see what I've missed. So we talked about the mixing extruders, Ken core, dual extruder. We were talking about that. Suggestion for our filament runout sensor. I think it needs PTFE fittings on each end. So Keith, the little brass inserts, some people have had issues where if like your filament's slightly out of spec or the inserts themselves are out of spec, it can drag on the filament. You can actually just pop those out and the sensor will work without them. I do have a new sensor. I don't know if I have one sitting here. I had one. I put 2 on our machines here to make sure they work correctly. But I have new ones that are in a black housing that have a tapered input, and it's all still injection molded. And it's a little tighter tolerances on the inside. So I'm not shipping any of them out yet because I want to make sure we're not going to have a different set of issues with these versus the current ones before I start sending them out to the customers. So I have one of my white sensors here that I had to remove the brass inserts from because my filament diameter was like 1.8 and it was getting caught on the brass inserts. So I took them out. It's been working fine. I've also got 7 other machines here with the same sensors that I haven't had to do anything to. So it's just luck of the draw with them. We don't actually make the sensors. We have another company make them for us, and then we make the boards that adapt the sensor to be used with the printers. So it wouldn't be cost effective. We wouldn't be able to sell them for $20 for the full kit if we were also then having to manually assemble the sensor itself. So, but we're testing a new version. The fix for it right now is if you have an easy out sensor, the little white ones we sell, and it's dragging on the filament too much, just pop the brass inserts out. You can either take like an Allen wrench and put it in there and kind of put it at an angle and pull it out. Or just take like your scraper, if you work it around, like just put it in the side of the casing and work it around. The casing will separate, and then you can push the brass fittings out. They work. The sensor works fine without it, and then you don't have any issues. So, Benjamin, optical sensors are not good because if you get transparent filaments like PETG or clear PLA, it will not sense the filament. I already tested those before I went with the ones with the micro switches. In this instance, simpler is better because you're not going to get full compatibility with the wide range of filament types. So I'm going to put the music back on here so we have some background here. I'm going to see if I can find some sort of like calmer music. No, copy, right. Background music. Let's see here. Don't want to get any copyright strikes. Let's see. Oh, here we go. We'll put this on. There we go. It's a little less club music. Not that I have a problem with it. I listen to everything. I shouldn't say everything. I'm sure there's some stuff that I won't listen to, like Screamo. No one's got time for that. Yeah, so just going back through here. Scott's working with the Panel Do, a 7-inch touchscreen. Yeah, that's a nice screen. I haven't played with those yet. Let's see. Oh, why is everybody's asking? I have all sorts of geeky shirts, and like apparently this one's a hit. So if you guys are Doctor Who fans, which I am, just a little bit here. There's a Pentium 1 there. That was my first Pentium 1 processor. This is, you remember that Dick in a Box music video with Justin Timberlake? So this is Doctor Who themed. So you got your 2 doctors here, and the TARDIS, and their dicks in the TARDIS box. So I had to turn my AC temp down a little bit because it wasn't actually kicking on for some reason. My window's open, so it is venting out. So yeah, that's what I've been working on. I gotta clean up tomorrow, and then finish detailing and cleaning my car. I gotta send this dash cam back. That's the buttons are broken on. I run dash cams in all my cars. So, Easy Pie, I literally just saw it. I had... where is it? Because I finally finalized the case design. I had it sitting here. I don't know if it's in this box behind me or not. I just saw it. Easy Pie is going to be ready on Wednesday. So, I've got a bunch of them. But, yeah. Man, I don't know where I put the prototype. I just saw it before I started the stream. Oh, and my Alpha is U10. I'm putting a Pet's Fang on. So, I printed the parts on my little, I call it the Smart. It's based off of the iMaker Start, but it's metal, so hence the word Smart. This is going to go on my U10. This is a volcano mount. And I'm going to put a 1mm nozzle on this sucker. So, it's going to print big stuff fast. So, I might even go to 1.2, but I'm going to do a volcano with the tough extruder. I'm just picking, there's like little surface zits on here. But that's what this mount is for. This is going to go on the U10. And this will clip on here. So we got the 40mm fan, the volcano will be in here, and then the duct is right here. So we got the duct here. Here's a Pet's Fang duct with a 50-15 fan. So here's the front of it. The 50-15 goes up here. And then this will mount up onto here. Like so. So yeah. Oh yeah, I'm putting the 50 watt in there. It's actually going to need that 50 watt heater. I've been putting that on, if my printer has a volcano, 100% for sure it gets a 50 watt heater. But I want to be able to print at like 0.8 layers at 60 to 80 millimeters a second. I just want to be able to just, you know, watch that roll spin. So, let's see here. LWJ Carroll, take it easy, man. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, the Ender 3, how are you liking that? If you got any questions, just let us know. Yeah, Tor is, I thought you were ordering a bunch of stuff, or was that Jesus? We got two guys remotely that help us out part-time with the support stuff. It's kind of whenever they have time to do it, because they have day jobs. But I get them discounts on the products, so little just bonus for, you know, helping us and everything. Even though we pay them, I still want to give them something, you know, just to sweeten the deal, because it can be a lot to deal with sometimes with the support. So I'm trying to think of what other stuff I can cover here. I probably should ask my brother when they actually are coming out. Or no, it was Jesus too. Yeah, he sent me a message. He's like, I'm just wondering if this is okay. What is he getting? Yeah, he sent me a thing. He wanted the well, you can't really see. He wanted a couple power adapters for the Pies, 2 tough extruders, and 2 tough hot ends with the titanium heat breaks. So, yeah. Okay. 1 a.m. I gotta go pick up my brother and his friend from Midway. So that'll be fun. So, Ben, easy out for the Ender 2, which I actually have. Judy, if Judy Gaines is actually watching, this came in the other day. This is your new Ender 2 board. You can thank Chris at Tiny Machines for hooking me up with this. He gave it to me at a very fair price. She had an issue with her Ender 2. Basically, the bed was tightened down too much, and it shorted out 12 volt into the thermistor and fried not only her original board, but I put a replacement on there, didn't notice it, and fried my board. So Chris was able to dig one of these out and get us a brand new Ender 2 board. But in terms of the Ender 2, I don't have any extra pins on this board to work with right now. I did notice, because I have one, I got the ones with the fried bed temp floating around here. They're in my drawer. Should be. Yeah, here they are. So I did notice on the Ender 2 boards, they've got this little header here that's labeled check. And it's labeled D29, and someone else sent me, there was a Thingiverse post that says that this goes to one of the pins on the Atmel, so I might be able to make like a wiring harness to adapt the sensor to work with these. So it's on my list, because I personally would like to have a filament sensor on my Ender 2, because that's one of the only printers I use for production stuff that doesn't have one right now. So, but at least I can still use those boards for testing firmware, even though the bed temp doesn't work. Yeah. So, I wish they used the same. If they used the same LCD, I would have been able to use the Easy Out kits as they are now with the Ender 2. So, anybody else grabbing a beer here? I just grabbed. I don't know if this is an actual. This is an actual brand. It says Yahara Lager, sorry. State of Brewing, Waunakee, Wisconsin. This is from Aldi. I want to say this is like an actual beer. It's not like their brand. So it's pretty good. I'm not usually a big fan of lagers, but it's lighter. Ben, if you change the LCD, you can actually put a CR10S board in your Ender 2. And to modify the firmware would not be that hard. There's just a couple line changes you need to make. But let me... I have the sensor on my list of things to try and get working for the Ender 2. Because I know there's a good market for that printer. I think if we put that out, it'd be worth my time. Couple other things. I got some... These are new throats, a new throat and nozzles for my Wanhao i3. This is supposedly as good as the Micro Swiss, and I got this off of AliExpress, so I want to check it out. And the polish on it's really good. Polish on it's very good, which I was really surprised, because that's what you want to see. You want to see a nice polish on your heat breaks, because basically if you don't, it's going to go ahead and clog more than a, lower quality one. So, yeah, I think that's all I've got for you guys. I don't think I have any new things that came in. I do have a new board that I picked up to test with. This is the MKS Base 2. If you guys have seen the MKS Base, you know it has integrated drivers. This is the Base 2. I have not tested this aside from making sure it turns on. But it's got 8825 Ti drivers, which are 1/32 stepping drivers. And they have a jumper here to change them from 1/16 to 1/32. I bought this on AliExpress. I think I paid 35 bucks for it. Looks decent. It's got nice big caps for the power input to filter it. SD slots built onto the board here. Before anybody asks, this will not fit in a Creality printer without modifying your control box, or printing adapters to adapt the mounting holes to the CR10 ones. So I just get these because when I run custom machines, I use stuff like this. This is essentially a Ramps plus an Arduino in one. Is essentially what it is with the drivers integrated. So I get if I see a new board pop up, I pick it up to see how it is. And what ends up happening is it sits in a drawer and I don't use it for a while until I need to replace something on one of my machines. So, but we'll see how it comes out. And this CR10S board, this is the dual extruder one, which we do have a few left on the website. If anybody missed the pre-order, I put what we had left up on the pre-order. This is my personal one that I use for testing, which is why it's sitting on my desk here. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and ask. If you got troubleshooting questions, print questions, start throwing them out there. That's kind of what this is. We've actually already been streaming for an hour now, apparently. Guess just time flew by quick. So, Ben, I do have you on Facebook on my TH3D profile. So if I do figure out a way to get the Easy Out working, if you want to test it out, once I get something in a prototype phase, it's probably not going to look very pretty, but it'll work if I can get it working. So I'll let you know, and I can send you out something to test with. Timothy Schneider says, I'm stuck on the coding for the Dual. What are you trying to do? Are you using my firmware, my board? What do you give me some context here? Kill switch, my U10's been fine. I did a couple more prints. It's disconnected right now because it doesn't fit with the control box, but so far it's been good. Good value, I want to say, despite the downfalls. Once I get the Volcano, the reason I don't print much with it is because 0.4 is too small, in my opinion, for that printer. Once I put this Volcano on here, this thing's going to be printing a ton of stuff. So, decent machine. Honestly, decent machine, and it seems like they keep dropping the price on it, too. So, I mean, you can't really argue with that. Is Timothy still with us? Timothy Schneider? Trying to get some context here. Yeah, Bruce, I remember you talked to me on the phone, right? Tim, what options do you have enabled? Or uncommented, I should say. Because I can test it right here. Because I test compiled on this board all the stuff. If I could just find a cable for the LCD, I'd be in business here. There we go. Yeah, because let me see, because there is one other minor bug right now where if you enable a Titan extruder and you're running dual Titans, it doesn't turn the right way because there's a line at the bottom that I missed to set a conditional statement on that will basically disable it if the dual with the Titan is enabled. So let me pop up the firmware here and see what we're working with. So let's do some troubleshooting live here on stream. So I'm gonna switch over to my right monitor. I'm gonna pull up my personal GitHub here, which has changes that have not been pushed to the origin yet. What version are we on here? We're on 1.8G. Okay, so this has a few little fixes in it. I do know in the back end... Let me see if I make this text bigger here, because I'm even having a hard time reading it, which means you guys are. So I know line 11, 60 something, where... Right here. Alright. Alright, so this needs to basically not do anything if this is enabled and the CR10S dual board is enabled. And that will resolve that bug that a user reported. So if disabled Titan extruder and as dual E board, then it'll set that. So there we go. That'll fix that bug that was reported. So let me close this out and we'll see. I'll put the GitHub over here so you guys can see. So you can see it's already recognized this change here, which will fix that. So it'll only apply this if Titan extruder and CR10S dual board is disabled, which would be the conditions that would be enabled. That would cause that to not be needed because it's going to get set further up in the config. Let's see. Let's go to the INO file here. Arduino's opening. I'm going to test it on this one right now. So you should only see you're on a dual nozzle setup. Okay, so that's good. Let me load up Arduino here. So I'm going to put this over here and let me set the options. So I'm using here we go. So I'm using a CR, let's just call it a CR10S. It's just a board. I don't actually test with a physical printer hooked up, and I'm using the CR10 LCD. And let's say we're using bed leveling. And then you said, are you using the dual nozzles or dual head and dual nozzles, right? So I'm going to save this. I'm going to select my board, which is on COM4. And make sure I got the 2560 selected, which I do. My ID is going to look a bit different because I use the standard Arduino one. The TH3D one is the same as mine, except the colors are changed, it's branded, and I stripped out some options that you guys don't need, so it makes it less confusing for people. So this is uploading right now. Keith, right now, if Scott's still in here, I know I personally haven't been able to get it to work on the test build, and I know Scott's been having some issues with getting it to work as well, too. Take it easy, Matt. Get some sleep, old guy. I've been having I have a lot of trouble sleeping at night because my mind is always going. I'm always thinking about like new products, what I'm going to do in the next day. So my sleep schedule is pretty much I am up until I crash, which is usually around 3 or 4 a.m. This is compiling right now, so this should show 2 nozzles. I'll hold the board up once I get it flashed. It's on a really long cable. Okay, it's uploading to my board now. Yeah, so just so you guys know, some people have complained that, you know, there's certain things that are not in the unified firmware that are in regular Marlin, and it's done by design because when you're running a company like us and there's so many options in Marlin, you have to sometimes limit what's available because it can cause issues with people trying to use stuff they don't understand, and then we get a million support questions. So you know, what we support is in the unified firmware if you're, you know, a customer of ours. So, and we're constantly adding new stuff on. If you watch our releases, we add a lot of features on. And it's all in the spirit of making things easier. Like, we just added on a home offset option because some people, depending on the physical build of their printer, the nozzle was off the bed a little bit, so they'll have an offset, meaning, like, let's say they need to move their nozzle 10 on Y and 7 on X to get it to the 0 position on their bed. They can set that offset now. And it's just provide that particular feature is provided as convenience for people that realize they need to do that on their machine. 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna, like, even if your machine has that, you're not gonna notice it because you're gonna be printing more in the center of the bed. Chances of you printing at 0, 0 are very low. So Tim here, this is with those options I just uncommented. I have 2 nozzles here. So, and this is essentially the G release with that one fix that I showed that I just fixed on there. The one fixing the Titan bug. And just so I remember now, I'm going to change the version file. So this will be, last one is G, so this will be H. I'll increment that 1. So, and this will not be 1.9 because there's no major features. This is just fixing little bugs. So yeah, this is a 10 LCD with the 10S board with dual nozzles. So it is operating as intended. If I short out the E temps, I should get a high reading. Temp 2 is responding. Temp 1 is responding. Bed is responding. So we're good. So that is working correctly. You might have uncommented the wrong option. If you look here, there's also dual head hot end single nozzle. which is the dual hot end with that long block that we include with one nozzle. You might have uncommented that one, so you should only have one of these options uncommented. Because if you have this one or this one uncommented, the single or the dual hot end single nozzle, it's only going to show one hot end on there. So anybody else, feel free to ask questions. Waiting to see if Tim fixed his issue. I was going to say, I know I tested that. So I was like, I know I tested that. I made sure both of them show up. So like, just to show you, I'll comment this out. Just flip it, so the dual hot end single nozzle, and I'm going to re-upload to the board. So it's going to recompile and re-upload to my board, and I'll show you guys, it only show one nozzle then. Should be almost done uploading here. You can see it's the LCD is locked because it is uploading right now. You see the lights on the board are flashing because it's still uploading. But when this restarts, it should only show one nozzle. But it'll still show two extruders in the menus. Any moment now. Usually it doesn't take this long. Because my arm's getting tired already. There we go. Alright, got the logo. Should be the Marlin screen. There we go. There we go. One nozzle. And if we look here, we should see two extruders. There we go. So, one nozzle, two extruders. So that is correctly set up in the firmware. And then I just got to make sure I comment these lines back out, because if I push it up to the GitHub with those fixes applied, it's going to set that baseline config and confuse a lot of people. I don't usually work directly out of the GitHub directory on my computer. Alright, so there we go. We got our little bug fix in there for next release. E-steps are determined, so if you're using the stock stepper motor or the pancake motors that we sell on your stock board, it's going to be 463. If you're using the E3D, if you have an E3D Titan Arrow, instead of what we call the Tough Direct, which is the same thing as a Titan Arrow, and you're using our motors, it's going to be 463. So we got here, let's see, so if you got multiple printers like I do, I make a folder for each printer, and I've got the bug fix here, which I'm assuming there's going to be changes, so what I'll usually do is I'll pull down the latest. My Tornado is kind of my testing machine now, so I'm going to go pull Scott's latest GitHub, or latest bug fix from their GitHub here. And go with the bug fix 110 branch. I'm going to download that. And then we're going to do a compare and see what's changed from the last time I pulled this down. And I personally use a program called WinMerge. So I'm going to put the new one on the right side. Here's my one for the tornado on the new one on the left, tornado on the right. And this is going to tell me, if I select the right base directory, it's going to tell me what's changed between the two. Come on, select the file. There we go. All right, so now if I do a compare, there we go. So we get this text files are different things. So this will let me see what's changed. So the left is the new one, the right is the old one. So it looks like there's been a decent amount of changes. So what I'll do is I'll go through and merge these so I know I'm on the latest, and if I refresh, it'll go away. So configuration.h is going to have differences because I've changed things on here, but I want to make sure that those differences are just changes I've made and not new features. So far, it's looking like just changes I've made. And yes, this is for my tornado, and I do have a filament runout sensor on it. So that's just a little peek of some stuff that's to come. Just letting you guys know. If you have a tornado, I am working on a filament sensor for it. I have it working. I just got to figure out how we're going to do it, because I can use my existing sensors, but not with the boards, which means I either need to make adapter cables or a new adapter board just for the tornadoes, or repin my sensors. I haven't decided which route I'm going to take, but I do have a working filament sensor on my tornado with the stock board. Again, I'm just going through here. These are some changes I made. It looks like we got rid of the junction acceleration option here. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that, because that was removed in the latest build. That's all the same. We got new stuff here. These are settings I changed. Again, settings I changed. So we got some changes here. We're going to go ahead and just copy these over. So once I'm done with this, I'll be on the latest Marlin bug fix for this printer. Like I said, this is a testing machine, and I believe I can just open these all up at once. Yeah, I usually go one file at a time, so we're going to go ahead and copy these over. Like I said, I just want to make sure I'm on the latest bug fix here. Okay, it's now figured dynamically. Okay, that makes sense. Just want to make sure I know what I'm doing here. These are just language changes, which I don't really need to do, but I'm going to, like I said, I want to make sure I'm on the latest. So my whole methodology with the unified firmware is I run testing on one of our machines here with the latest Marlin, and then once it is not showing any bugs, then we start merging it over to the unified. And then I have other machines here that run stock boards, so thus they run unified. And then once those complete their testing and I don't see any issues with it, then it gets pushed out to the public. Now, once I enter the phase where I'm testing on my printers that are using unified, I will push it out to the TH3D customer group and let people have a go at it and then get further feedback. But I don't recommend using them on production machines because there could be bugs. So basically, I'm making sure that we are pushing out code that is fully tested. Because if it doesn't work, then what happens is I get a million support tickets that myself and my other guys that help us out get to deal with. So if that makes sense here. Looks like we did some averaging here of the multiple probes, Scott, for auto bed leveling. So if I go back here, okay, yeah, we're just changing how we're returning the value. Nothing crazy. I'm assuming you guys are changing how these values are being returned and everything to optimize the code. Would be my best guess. So we're just going through here, merging all the changes. Actually, for these, I don't know, I'm sitting here going individually. I can literally just, I know these are not going to have any changes I've made to it, to any of these files, except for the pins on ramp. We're gonna manually review those because I do have pin changes for the TiVo board. And I'm going to copy left to right. Yes. And now those files are identical. So like here, I've got I changed my Xmax pin. I'm using that for the filament sensor and my fill runout pin. So these can be ignored. This can be updated. So can this. And then, so all we should have left, it creates a backup file. I don't use these. And then we got the boot screen. All right, so now this copy of my testing is on the latest bug fix. So let's see if it compiles or if Scott broke something. Yeah, Keith, I'm not sure why you would have to reflash the bootloader. You shouldn't have to. I've never had to reflash the bootloader on any of mine. But something could have happened. It could have been you had an issue with the USB port or the cable or your computer. And that could have caused it to overwrite the bootloader or corrupt it when you're pushing the new firmware. But that's why I recommend people having Uno on hand, because if you do ever have a bad flash or an issue, you can reload the bootloader and then start from square one. Timothy Schneider's asking, have you used E3D's 0.9 degree stepper motors? I have not. I have no issues with the 1.8 degrees. Personally, I like to keep my steps lower on these boards. So if you use a 0.9, you're going to be running at a step of double 463. So you're going to be at 800-900 steps. And the 1.8s work just fine. So save your money. Forgot to change my nominal filament diameter. Not that it matters, I'm not using volumetric, but just for consistency's sake, I like to have that there. So we're compiling. If this compiles, then I can upload it to the board and make sure everything's working. And we compiled, so Scott didn't break anything. Thank you, Scott. So then I can go over to my Pi here. And this is the printer that's our guinea pig. This is the Tornado here. As its its webcam should work. I got some OctoPrint updates here, so I'll do those in a little bit. But I can go to my firmware updater, browse, and then I can select my firmware that I just compiled here. So I got the Tornado G, bug fix testing, Marlin, and you want to select the one without bootloader in the name. So double click that, it's going to upload it. And now I can hit flash. So now I'm updating the firmware on my Tornado with the Raspberry Pi, which is great because then I don't have to connect a USB cable to it. I actually haven't played with... I have the bed visualizer plugin on here. I just realized I have not played with it. So I'm going to see what it gets. So it is now flashing the compiled binary over the USB with the Pi. And now it's verifying. Sorry if my mic is picking up my vape. And these are slow. You got to realize this is updating over a USB to serial connection. Printer just reset, so it's good. I got a couple little modifications on here. Like I've got a controllable LED strip using one of the Marlin features that would control a fan. Instead, it's controlling a relay. So basically, once my heaters or motors kick on, my LEDs on the printer kick on, so they're not on all the time. What I'll usually do is I'll pull my Z offset. So I know this one's negative 2.58. I'll copy this because I'm going to go ahead and reset to defaults. So anytime I flash firmware, I do an M502, it'll say hard-coded settings or hard-coded default settings loaded, and then M500, which will store those. And then I'll do M851Z and then my offset. That'll set my Z offset. So if I do an M503, which will report my values, you'll see right here, there's my Z offset, and then again M500 to save that. So let's update my plugins here. And this is a Pi 3, so it's the quad-core version. How's the weather down there in Texas, Scott? If you guys want to see anything on stream now, I'm just kind of hanging out, killing time before I got to go pick up my brother. Sundays are my day off, so OctoPrint's restarting. So usually I'll just click that a couple times, or I'll just reset it here. I just heard my printer relay for the LEDs cycle, so it should be almost back up. That's OctoPrint connecting to the board. It cycles the relay. Yeah, Ben, Scott's down in Texas. I can't remember what city he's in. I know Texas is a huge state. And Ben, that's hilarious. I didn't know you were from Texas, but that explains the cowboy hat in your profile picture. All right, so bed visualizer. Let's see. In order for this to work, I'm assuming M420V. Well, let's test these. Let's figure out which one we want. I'm going to put this in here, and we'll see which one's going to spit out data. So I'm going to go ahead and preheat my... Well, I'm going to do it cold because it's going to take a little while to preheat. This is a 220 version of the AC bed, so it heats up about the same speed as a standard DC bed, so it gets a 60, but I can do it just for... for testing purposes to check out this visualizer plugin. So, all right, so that's working. Let's get do another G28. I'll do a Z and do a G29 to get our grid. And yeah, so I know some people have been having issues with the Tornado and the Easy ABL. This one has the Meanwell power supply and a replaced SSR, and you can see the probe is working fine on it, and that's because the stock Tornado power supply is terrible, and the stock SSR leaks AC current, so even when it's off, it's putting AC power into the bed, a very slight amount, but still enough to screw up the sensor's field. So I'm doing a 4x4 grid on here. All right, so we should have, let's see, so there's our grid here. So let me see, G29. I'm gonna do it. I think it's M420V. Yeah, so that's, I think that's the one. If I do a G29T, I think it's just gonna do another G29. Yeah. So M420V is what we want. So I'm gonna go back in here. M420V. So it's going to save it. We can flip the X and flip the Y. That's neat. Remove row labeling. No, we want that. So, okay, it's already got... Alright, so it is working correctly. So this is getting a new probe here. Alexa, what's the temperature outside?
Right now, it's 65 degrees. Tonight, expect a low of 56 degrees.
Nice and cool here in Chicago. I don't do well with heat, which is why I have not moved to Texas. Alright, so we're going to go to bed visualizer. Let's update. It's going to retrieve the mesh. So that's about correct, what I expect for my bed. So, pretty dang flat, though. And just for shits and giggles, let's see how much it changes once it's heated. Yeah, it's 73 in my office with 50% humidity. Alexa, what's the humidity outside?
Right now, the humidity is 58%.
58%, so not terrible. So yeah, OctoPrint is awesome. If you guys haven't used it already, you can check it out. I am going to be offering kits starting next week. They're going to be limited quantities because I can't buy pies in bulk. So I have, I think, about 20 Pi 3s and a couple Pi 3 Pluses here. So I'll be releasing a few. But I have them on every printer. Like, this is awesome. Like, I got this is a C270 camera on here with a wide angle lens. You know, I can see my whole bed. You know, time-lapse wise here. Like, where's a good one here? Yeah, you can see here I was testing Easy Pi prototypes here. So you can see here it does a nice time lapse. So Ben, you were asking about the Easy Pies. This is me testing the different designs. So this is one of the designs I'm going to be using. The lid slides on real nice. I just got to put 4 screws in the board here to hold it down, and then it's got 20/20 mounting. So, but you can see here, this was printed on the test build. So we're at 38.4 on the bed. I'll let it get up to temp here. Like I said, this is the 220 version of the AC bed, so it heats about at the same rate as a standard DC bed. So it's not terrible. It will get up to 100. It's just running a higher resistance because it's geared for 220 instead of 110. So it takes longer to heat up. I didn't swap it out, and I actually prefer this because I run my printers on a UPS, and the fact that that bed pulls less current, I don't mind the longer heat up times. So one alternative would be, if I did have a standard AC bed, would be have the bed plug for its power separate from the rest of the printer, so I could plug that directly into the non-battery backup side of my battery backup. So essentially the bed itself isn't on the UPS. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I have my bed sheet on top of the Tornado bed sheet because the glass is actually cracked, and it's literally being held together by super glue and the stock Tornado bed sheet. And I put mine on top of it. One, because the stock one is terrible. I hate it. And two, I can easily replace the bed sheet without taking off the sheet from the glass. And I have to go pick up, I had some custom tempered glass sheets cut for the Tornado, which will then mount with some ABS clips, and that's what's going to be the replacement bed kit that I have posted as coming soon on the site. I just haven't had time to go over with everything else going on. I haven't had time to go over and pick them up. The place is about 5 minutes from my house. So we're almost at temp here. I recommend having, just for consistency, is have your printer homed. So that way the sensor's up to temp as well as the bed. Doesn't really make that big of a difference, but I try to make sure I do everything the same on all my machines, which means leaving the sensor home so the sensor gets up to temp, because I calibrated it like that, so I should be preheating it like that so I get the same consistent results. So almost up to 10. Anybody got any questions here? Almost up to temp here. I'll let it sit there for a minute. Now, if you guys noticed in my latest starting script, if you guys have the latest Easy ABL, I actually home Z twice. And I found that's because you get a more accurate reading on the Z, which means less baby stepping. If you home and then home Z again, it's almost like the sensor goes into like a power save mode. So the first one could be a little low or a little high. So homing Z a second time seems to take care of that. So we got our current mesh here. Open that in another tab. Nah, it's going to the touch one because my resolution's small. This is the touch UI, which is great for a touch screen like your phone, but for our purposes, I don't want that right now. So we got bed visualizer here. So this is it. This was it cold. Let's see what we get heating, because your bed typically will warp a little bit once you apply heat to it. Tim, did you update the settings in the firmware for the dual nozzles like I showed? Are you good now? One of the future features I'm going to be adding to the unified firmware for the dual boards is to have a different extruder on each stepper. So let's say you want Titan on E1 and regular one on E0. I'm going to add that in the future. So that's if anybody was wondering that. All right, let's see what our mesh looks like. So here, look at, we heated the bed, and look how much that warped. Still pretty similar to the previous one. But you can see the bed warped once it was heated. So, not terrible, but again, that's why you want to have everything heated, because this is a glass bed, and that warped once the heat was applied to it. And I'm wondering if it'll, as it's heating, if it'll do an even different mesh. So I'm just rehoming it and then doing another G29. Yeah, I'm assuming you're saying oh to the different extruders. I figure most people will run the same ones. But for people that don't want to, I want to have that as an option. I just didn't have time to code all that. I wanted to get a firmware out there, and it seems like most of the people that ordered the boards from us, they ordered matching extruders. So it's not really that big of a deal right now, but again, I like adding in features so that it makes it easier for everybody else. Keith, there's actually already 2 different features you can use to maintain your nozzle temp. There's one that will wait for the heater to recover and then probe the next spot, which will take long. There's one that just leaves them on during probing. If you want to try them, they're in the Easy ABL settings at the bottom of the configuration.h file. Just make sure that you're not getting bad accuracy with the sensor while those heaters are on. So you could do that by enabling that option, updating the firmware, and then run M48 test before and after and compare the results. If you're still under 0.01, you're still getting, you know, accuracy in the thousandths of a millimeter, you're fine. I have it off, so let's update our mesh and see. Yeah, about the same. So this one does get pretty good accuracy. So I'll do a G28 here, and then M420's P10, or no, M48, P10, X150. I usually do it in the middle. Y150, V2. So let's see what we get. Yeah, Scott, I'm aware of how to implement it. I just haven't set up, or I haven't coded the if-else statements to basically make that happen with the unified. Yeah, so if you're doing 0.9s on XY, you're going to double your E steps. If you look in the back, if you look in the back-end config, you'll see in the CR10S section the steps for X and Y. I believe they're 80, so you want to double those to 160. And depending on the wiring, you might need to change it. So here you guys can see, so this is on a Tornado, and we're getting 0.003, so that's really good accuracy. So the sensor's working really well in this system. So yeah, the bed visualizer is pretty cool. I like that. Pretty neat. Yeah, so you can see there's a big difference. So people are I lost my train of thought. Oh, so people that are like, oh, you can just level your bed, you don't need ABL. If your bed looks like this, you're never going to be able to level it. So you can iron out these corners if you want. Now, I got solid mounts on this, so it doesn't really matter in my instance, but this bed's not flat. So you can't compensate for the bed not being flat by manual leveling. Pretty much all my beds are not straight. Especially my Mini. My CR10 Mini is real rough. It's got a good 0.5 millimeter dip right in the center. So my choices are do ABL or replace the bed, and I'm not replacing the bed. So that's about it. I don't really have anything else to add here, unless anybody's got some other questions. Hope you guys like that. This is the first time I played with this bed visualizer. This is really cool, to be completely honest. You can see, you know, which one is higher. So my back left corner, you know, there's a difference of 0.2 between these two here. That one's real bad, 0.3. But I've printed out to the edges on this one. It works just fine. So, thank you, ABL. Making crappy Chinese beds usable. So I just leave my printers home.z when they're all done. So just leave my printer right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and shut the bed off because I'm not going to print anything right now. Actually, none of my printers are running right now because I was actually doing personal stuff today instead of working even though we're typically closed on Sundays, I do work on internal projects here. So my project this weekend was cleaning my car, which is not done. The interior is pretty much done. You just got to clean the windows. And then I'm going to probably spend 4 hours washing, clay barring, waxing, buffing, whatever. Not necessarily in that order. You want to, for those of you guys that don't know, you want to wash your car, clay bar it if it needs it, buff out your scratches. I use 2,000, 3,000, then 5,000 grit sandpaper, and then I use a buffer with some really fine polish to smooth the clear coat out again. And then I go and wash that area off, and then I'll seal it with wax. So I think I'm using McGuire's wax. That's what I usually use. But yeah, it's my buddy's like, so you're basically telling me you want to blind the ISS when the sun hits your car. I'm like, yeah. I'm not washing your truck. That's, dear God, no. Yeah, you can. So if you got scratches, the easiest way to check if it's a clear coat scratch or if it's going to need to be sanded down, repainted, and then new clear coat applied, is if you put water over your scratch and the scratch disappears while it's wet, it's a clear coat scratch. So what you can do then is you can take 2,000 grit sandpaper, and this has got to be done while the car and the sandpaper wet. It's called wet sanding. So usually you take like a mixture of like just some soap and water and spray it on there. It acts as a lubricant, and then lightly sand it down. Once the scratch is pretty much gone, then move to the 3,000, repeat, and then 5,000 to finish it off. And then you take a buffer, you put your polish on there, which your polish is pretty much like 10,000 or 15,000 grit sandpaper equivalent. It's just little tiny abrasive particles in there, and that'll make it smooth again and shiny. But if you are through your clear coat, you can't do that. And you got to be careful too when you're wet sanding, because you can actually sand through the clear coat and then it's going to look weird. The difficulty is if you need to repaint it, you would essentially have to sand it down, touch it up, sand it down again to make it flat, put clear coat over it again, and then buff it all, do the wet sanding and everything, and then buff it again. So like I got a bunch of scratches on the hood of my car, so I'm going to touch them up, put new clear coat over it, you know, and then do the whole process. So I got 140,000 miles on my car, so it's got a lot of rock chips on the hood. The bumper was replaced recently, so that's not too bad. The bumper got damaged. I was pulling out of a lot in Chicago, and there was a good divot right like this, and didn't look that bad. And essentially what happened was, as I was going down, the wheels went into the rut. The bumper clipped the pavement and cracked the bumper, which also then cracked my intercooler. It was like $2,100 worth of damage to the car, which was, it was terrible. But that's why the bumper got replaced. So screw Chicago and their terrible roads. So if anybody does, if nobody's got any more questions, then I'm gonna wrap up the stream. You can expect to see the Xinkebot test. I don't know if I might actually do a film it and then edit it review. It might not be a live stream, but I got 2 G-Tech printers, so end of next week I'm gonna do a live stream on either their Wood One or the A30. And then the Xinkebot will probably be out in about a week or 2. So I'll wash a motorcycle. I gotta wash mine too. They're pretty dirty, and I gotta put a new battery in the BMW. It's completely dead. So anyways, looks like we got no more questions, so I'm gonna wrap up the stream. Everybody, thanks for stopping by. If you haven't already, you can check out TH3D Studio's website at www.th3dstudio.com. We sell auto bed leveling kits, filament sensors, all sorts of parts. Just check it out. We got a lot of stuff. We got over 50 products now. We got bed mats that work awesome. You can check everybody else's feedback. I use them here 100% because they work really well. So check out some of the stuff. If you guys are passionate and want to support an open source project like Marlin, which is what most of our printers run, Scott Latine, who is in the chat, he's actually the lead developer or manager, whatever you want to call it. He's a fancy custodian of the code for Marlin. You can go on our website, go to the Unified Firmware page, and there's a link to his Patreon. So if you can spare a few bucks a month, please support him. The work of him and all the other developers is what makes these printers possible. We wouldn't be seeing all these cheap printers without Marlin. So support him like you can. I support him financially. I also support Gina at OctoPrint, and a couple other people, Joel, the 3D printing nerd, and Sebastian, who's run the ADV++ project for the Wanhao i3 Plus, because that's one of the printers I'm working on. We're going to be using his code. It's all open source, but I want to give people credit and support financially when I can. Soldier X6, the dual extrusion setup tutorial. So we're going to be posting information and a lot of pictures and STL files. I have them on my computer right now. I have a lot of them printed, so I'm going to test fit them, make sure they all actually work. Other people have used them before, but I like to make sure they actually work before I send them out and be like, here guys, print these. So I've got like the mounts for the tough dual hot end that also work with the Chimera and the Cyclops. Obviously with the bed leveling support too. And then the bracket, which clamps around the stock motor's body, which then allows you to put a second motor off the back. So you can have both your extruders stacked, 1 and then 2, to run your dual extrusion. So I've got all those. I've already printed them. I've test fit them. They work. And one of the versions requires just I think it's M4, M5 bolt and a nut. And the other one is just a printed part only. I recommend the one that actually has the bolt nut because it clamps on to the motors. So, but I've already pulled all the STL files. I got links back to the Thingiverse that we got them from. So basically I want to build a library of, you know, if you're doing this setup, here's what you need to print. Here's what you need to mount on your printer. Tor he's no longer in the chat right now, but he's one of our guys, and he's been documenting the dual extrusion setup for Kira. I already have a profile set up for S3D for a 2-in-1 setup, and S3D itself has wizards built in already for dual nozzle extrusion. So if you got S3D, just basically set up a new printer profile, run through their wizard, it'll create the profile for you. So, but this is all stuff we're going to be documenting on the site. It's just going to be available to everybody. I basically want to have everything documented as a central point, not just for our customers, but for everybody who's trying to do dual extrusion, because there's just not a ton of information out there, and it's all scattered. So we're basically literally scouring the internet for anything we can find related to dual extrusion, simplifying it, making sure it actually works, and then aggregating it to one location. So yeah, if you got anything you want to add, you can email Tim at th3dstudio.com. You can post in our th3d customer group and tag me, or even email to support at th3dstudio.com. So if you got anything you want to add to it, anything that you found that works well, tips, tricks, files, profiles, send them over. So the more the better. But Nick something is asking, why use ADV i3++ over just your Unified? So we're using ADV's LCD libraries and firmware in conjunction with Unified, because Unified is just Marlin. Marlin can't control the i3+ LCD, so you need both. You need the updated firmware on the LCD and Unified. So it's still going to be in Unified, but in order to fully utilize it, you'll have to update your LCD firmware, which involves putting the SD card in with the firmware image on it. It's actually pretty simple. Like I said, I'm just trying to get all the probe options working, which they're already working on right now. They've been playing around with the BL Touch, and he is adding support for the probe. So I'm basically trying to accelerate the ones for the standard probes, like what we use, to get it working. So theoretically, you could, I have the Unified done, and you could do all your commands through G-code over USB to serial, and it'll work. That's working and done. The issue and the delay is the LCD, because it's not a standard LCD. So I hope that clears some things up. And the JG Aurora A5 is the next printer I want to support after I get the i3 done. And we're gonna have the same issues. It's got a separate LCD that's essentially a complete standalone system that just sends G-code commands, And that LCD is not open source. It's not fully documented. There's no developer tools for it. So I basically have to reverse engineer everything. And it's not using any open source projects, so we can't go to the company that's making them and be like, hey, you guys need to provide source to your customers that have these. They're using a closed source software. So hopefully we can get everything working on there. I've been playing around with it. I've got one of the touch LCDs, just LCD itself, sitting here that I've been playing with. But right now I'm focused on getting the D6 mount finalized and getting that rolled out, which the D6 is actually the reason I came out with the smaller sensors, because it doesn't have as much room on the carriage for a large 18mm sensor. It does have room for a 12mm though. So just need to finish up the probe mount for that, and then that'll be supported and unified. So Michael Hutchinson, I don't know if he's in the chat, he usually stops by, but he's a customer of mine. I think he's got 3 of the D6s, and he's been running my test build of just stock, essentially stock unified that doesn't have ABL or anything, just to make sure all the core functions are working. And I haven't heard anything negative from him, so I'm assuming everything's working correctly. We bought a D6, which is right up there on my shelf, and that's going to be our test bed. So that's already got the test firmware loaded on it. I've got a crudely mounted sensor on there just to make sure everything's reading correctly. So like I said, I just need to finalize the actual design of the probe mount itself. So, and last week didn't help. The whole thing with the accident really kind of screwed up everything. And we're finally caught up, so I can start trucking ahead with all these projects that I've got piled up here. Any other questions before I wrap this up here? Soldier, did I answer your question about the dual extrusion stuff? I'm going to give it another minute. It's 12:21 a.m. right now, and then I'm going to wrap up the stream unless anybody else has any other questions. Feel free to ask. Like, I'm here, pick my brain. If you got questions, I don't care if you're a customer or not. This is for everybody. That's why I like doing these streams, so you can get help with something if you need it. Alrighty then, thank you everybody again for stopping by. You can check out our site, th3studio.com, and if you got some extra money, you want to help out the development of Marlin, you can search, I think it's Thinkyhead, on Patreon, but we have a link on our unified firmware page. If you scroll down, there's big red letters saying to support Scott. So I highly recommend, if you guys can toss him a couple bucks. He's like, I think 20 bucks short of his $1,500 goal. So if you guys can do that, actually let me find his Patreon link and post it here. It's also, if you look on our channel at the top right, there's a Patreon link. That is Scott's Patreon link. Yeah, so it's patreon.com/thinkyhead. So if you guys got a couple extra bucks, please support Scott on Patreon. Do not donate anything to me. We don't need it. That's what TH3D is for. TH3D, the sales from there is what makes stuff like this possible. It lets me work on projects that then get back to the community. It lets us come up with new products. So if you're going to donate money, donate to Scott. And Scott, if you're still watching, I need to talk to you about getting something set up where people can just make a one-time donation. There's a couple of different services that do that. Because I know there's a lot of people that are, they don't want to commit to a monthly donation and forget about it and keep getting charged. But there are people that just want to donate some money to you. So follow up with me tomorrow. I'm going to get off here and then get ready to go to the airport. So anyways, everybody, thanks for stopping by. And yeah, happy printing.